our channel Students Homeopathy, and let's learn together. So today we will discuss a very important topic of homeopathic philosophy, that is prognosis after observing the action of the remedy, or you can simply tell Kent's 12 observations. It is the 35th lecture of Kent's philosophy. So let's start. After a prescription has been made for a patient, the next action of the physician depends very much upon his observations, isn't it? So, if the physician is not familiar with the changes that he observes after his prescription, then definitely he will lead to a wrong prescription. And intelligence is the only factor based on which accurate observation can be made. Dr. Kent has discussed his observations after a prescription is made. According to him, these are the outcomes of much watchfulness, long waiting, and watching. The observation is made only after the prescription has acted. Actions of medicines begin to make changes in the patient, which ultimately reflect in the form of changes in symptoms like disappearance of symptoms, aggravation of symptoms, amelioration of the symptoms, and order of symptoms. Now, note that aggravation and amelioration of symptoms are the most common changes after administration of a remedy. So coming to aggravations, aggravations are of two types. First one, aggravation of disease. Here, the patient grows worse and weaker, but symptoms grow stronger. Then, second one, aggravation of symptoms. That is the homeopathic aggravation. Here, the patient grows better despite the aggravation of symptoms. It is seen after a true homeopathic prescription. In true homeopathic aggravation, the patient says, I am feeling better. However, these are the only signs and symptoms and the basics to know whether the patient is improving or declining. We should not blindly accept the opinion of the patient. Instead, we should rely on their symptoms only. The patients are not the judge to decide their progress, but we can observe the symptoms and decide whether they are doing well or not. In many cases, the patients complain that they are growing weaker, though their symptoms tell the opposite. It is the symptoms that can say whether the direction of cure is following or not. The patient's opinion must be supported by their symptoms. So now, let's discuss Kent's 12 observations which he observed after administering a remedy. So coming to the first observation, the first observation was a prolonged aggravation and final decline of the patient. So now, what are the inferences we get here? These are: the prescription was a mistake. The antisoric was too deep. The potency was high and it has established destruction. In this state, the vital reaction was impossible and it was an incurable case. So if these are the inferences, then what should be the steps to be taken here? So the steps to be taken: the remedies should be antidoted and a more similar remedy is selected based on a fresh case taking, which is to be given in low potency. Then it should be remembered that in incurable and doubtful cases, the potency should never exceed the 30 or 200. Also, it should be observed whether the aggravation is going to be too deep or too prolonged. The most probable prognosis here is unfavorable. Then coming to the second observation. Second observation was long aggravation but final and slow improvement. Here the inference is some very marked tissue changes in some organs have begun. So the steps to be taken here, that we should wait till the medicine completes its action, and the probable prognosis is favorable. Coming to the third observation. Third observation was the aggravation is quick, short and strong with rapid improvement of the patient. So here the inferences are, the reaction is vigorous and there is no tendency to any structural change in vital organs. However, structural changes may be present only on the surface or as superficial. They will not affect the vital organs. For example, a suppurating abscess on skin or region like this that are not vital. Then, in an acute sickness, this aggravation occurs in the first hour after the remedy. And in a chronic case, the aggravation occurs during the first few days. So here, steps to be taken is action of medicine should not be disturbed and the probable prognosis here is favorable. Then, fourth observation. The fourth observation was no aggravation with the recovery of the patient. Here, the inferences are, the remedy is suitable to the case, there is no organic disease and no tendency to organic disease, the condition is not of great depth, it belongs to the functions of nerves rather than to threaten changes in tissues. There are changes in tissue but very slight to observe. The potency just exactly fitted to the case. And the probable prognosis here, the cure may come out without aggravations and it is the highest order of cure in acute affections. However, in chronic cases, a slight aggravation of the symptoms in beginning is more satisfactory. That means, though this observation is favorable in acute cases, but in chronic ones it is doubtful. Then, coming to the fifth observation. The fifth observation was, the amelioration comes first and the aggravation comes afterwards. Here, the patient says he becomes better immediately after taking the medicine. His symptoms seem to be better. The medicine has acted promptly, but at the end of a week or 4 to 5 days, all the symptoms become worse. So here, the inferences are, first, it should be inquired whether the patient has done something that spoiled the action of medicine. If not, the condition is unfavorable. Then, in this case, either the remedy was only a superficial remedy and was a palliative, or the patient was incurable and the remedy was somewhat suitable. Then, the remedy was only similar to the most grievous symptoms and it didn't cover the whole case or the constitutional state of the patient. Then, the patient is an incurable one and the selection was an unfavorable one. So here steps to be taken are, a more similar medicine is to be chosen after a fresh case taking and the probable prognosis here is unfavorable. Then, sixth observation. So the sixth observation was too short relief of symptoms. The relief after the constitutional remedy does not last as long enough and does not last as long as it ought to be. For examples, a dose of medicine given in a most violent inflammation of the brain may remove all the symptoms for an hour and the remedy has to be repeated. And at the end of that repetition, we find only amelioration of 30 minutes. The action of belladonna in some very acute red-faced conditions lasting for a very short period. So here, the inferences are, there may be some condition interfering with the action of the remedy. In acute high-grade cases, inflammation is present and the organs are threatened by the rapid processes going on. In chronic diseases, structural changes are present and organs are destroyed or being destroyed or in a very precarious condition. So the probable prognosis here is unfavorable. Next, seventh observation. The seventh observation was a full-time amelioration of the symptoms yet no special relief of the patient. So here the inferences are, there are latent conditions or latent existing organic conditions preventing improvement beyond a certain stage. For example, patient with one kidney, patients with fibrinous structural changes in certain places, ancestor tubercles in lungs. The remedy acted favorably, but the patient is not cured and never can be cured. The remedy is a suitable palliative only. So the most probable prognosis is unfavorable. Next, eighth observation. The eighth observation was, some patients prove every remedy they get. So here, patients inclined to be hysterical, overwrought, idiosyncratic and oversensitive to all things. Such patients are most annoying. So here the inferences are, they are often incurable. Such patients are provers. They will prove the highest potencies. So the necessary steps to be taken here. In acute diseases, they should be prescribed in 30 or 200 potency. In chronic diseases, 30, 200 and 500 potencies should be used. Many of them are born with this sensitivity and they will die with it. They are not capable of rising above this over-irritable and overwrought state. And the probable prognosis here is unfavorable. Next, ninth observation. The action of the medicine upon provers. So here, healthy provers are always benefited by drug proving. First, the constitutional states of the prover are to be written down and subtracted from the proving symptoms. And here, probable prognosis is favorable. Coming next, 10th observation. The 10th observation was new symptoms appearing after the remedy. So here, the inferences are, the prescription is an unfavorable one. The greater the appearance of new symptoms after the administration of a remedy, the more doubt should arise that the prescription was incorrect. After these new symptoms subside, the patient will probably settle down to the original state and no improvement will take place. It is not a true homeopathic prescription. So the steps to be taken here, a new simillimum should be selected as the prescription was incorrect. However, we should wait till as the symptoms will settle down to their original state. But if the new symptoms are grievous, medicine should be antidoted. And the probable prognosis is unfavorable. Next, 11th observation. The 11th observation was, old symptoms are observed to reappear. That means it follows Herring's law. So the inferences are, this is an encouraging observation. The disease is curable. The patient is on the road to recovery. Symptoms are disappearing in the reverse order of their appearance. So here the necessary steps to be taken, that the medicine must be left alone. The old symptoms that are appearing will go off without any change of medicine. However, if the old symptoms come back to stay, then a repetition of the dose is often necessary. And the probable prognosis here is favorable. Then, last, 12th observation. The 12th observation was, symptoms take the wrong direction. That means it is simply suppression. So the disappearance of symptoms is not following the direction of cure. For example, rheumatism of knees or feet got relieved at once, but violent internal distress settled in the region of heart or spine. That means the direction is from the circumference to center. That is the opposite, the direction of cure. Most gouty patients are in a better state when their fingers and toes are in the worst condition. But if these symptoms are relieved and the heart symptoms grow worse, it is deterioration. Likewise, eruptions upon the skin and affections in the extremities are good signs as they are on the superficial region. So here the inference is, it is suppression. So the necessary steps to be taken here: remedy must be antidoted at once, and a more similar remedy is to be selected based on a fresh case taking. Otherwise, structural changes will take place in that new site, and the probable prognosis here is unfavorable. So, the gist of the prognosis are: the favorable observations are 2nd, 3rd, 9th and 11th observations. And unfavorable observations are 1st, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th and 12th observations. And 4th observation is only favorable in the acute case and doubtful in the chronic ones. So that's all for this video. If you have not yet subscribed to our channel Students Homeopathy, please subscribe it now and also click on the bell icon and select all so that you will not miss any of our informative, educational and interesting videos on homeopathy. And please provide your valuable feedback in the comment section, and also we will love to answer your queries on this topic. Thank you for watching.